that really progress? As Elon Musk says,
AI is getting better and better. So even in a benign scenario, we're kind of left behind. We're not along for the ride. We're just too dumb.
Right.
So how do you go along for the ride? It's like if you can't beat them, join them.
And he's absolutely right. We'll be left behind unless we have that technology. Don't worry, you don't have to have a piece of skull removed and a chip inserted in your brain. No, it will be completely voluntary because we do live in a consent-based system. Thank goodness for that. It's just that your bank account won't work and you won't be able to buy food without it. But other than that, it's completely your choice.
We're already a cyborg to some degree, right? Because you've got your phone. So we're right.
You know, I've actually kind of been sort of having sympathy with Elon Musk recently because, he claimed that he was in for free speech and so forth. And this whole kind of Europe, the whole European opposition to Elon Musk, I've kind of even been sort of opposing Europe. But when Musk comes out with stuff like this, he's completely lost the plot. I mean, he's completely lost sanity and truth. And this is a person who is in charge of these multi-billion-dollar companies. He's got a contract with the US government. The US government are threatening that they're going to censor people on platforms, and Europe are really trying to censor everyone on platforms for misinformation, right? Now, this guy is quite influential. He owns a social media platform and everyone, listens to what he says, and he's got quite a lot of influence. Let's just have a reality check. He's just said that in a kind of casual, passive comment that we humans, who are biological creatures, are already AI or cyborg, whatever, anyway now, because we've got to a degree, just because we've got a phone, right? I've never heard as much absolute tosh and bollock in my entire living life as a human being. It's a blatant lie. To a degree, he's saying it. He's saying, we're more or less cyborgs to a degree anyway, because we've got a phone. He's trying to make it sound like we've already partly become technology. That's absolute tosh. When we haven't even become any cyborg. A human is born, right? And there's absolutely no tech in it. And it doesn't need any tech or use any tech. So the percentage of people on this planet who live in Russia, in rural Russia, or even rural America, or other vast countries, you don't need a smartphone. You're not linked or connected to a smartphone. You don't need to breathe with it. You don't need it for water. You don't eat it. You don't actually need it for sex. Breathing, moving and walking and so forth. I think what Musk is thinking about is disabled people. And I know he's got problems with some or one of his kids being disabled. He's got this position, this point of view, where I think he thinks that all humans are somewhat disabled or have a disability, therefore we need a bionic leg. There are soldiers who have had their legs blown off, which is quite upsetting and tragic. Some humans who have had an accident or incident or have been born disabled have got tech gadgets like pacemakers because they can't function like how a human is statistically averagely meant to be, right? Because they've suffered an injury. Now, at this point, there is absolutely no need or requirement for androids, robotics or technologies for the average human, for well over 75% of humans, if not higher percentage, right? That's a modest percentage. 3/4 of all humans is a modest percentage, right? And I don't think that figure's wrong. Musk is heavily painting the picture that, because you got a smartphone and you're like looking at a screen, that you already might as well say that you might as well tech, and we've already gone down the way to being androids. And what he's talking about going into the future, and we're going to have tech or AI anyway, and we might as well go that way and become part man, part machine. We haven't even the only toe that has been put into the swimming pool, so to say, the only toe dipped into the water is disabled people or people who have been injured, right? People who haven't been born like a normal human, therefore they're not even a normal, fully complete normal human, or have been injured, right? Now, it's a very, very extremely long time in the future when we need to leave the planet, right? Now, all of this tech and gadget stuff is privileged, and it's stuff that we don't actually need. We're just lucky that we can think of it and make it because we've got the ability to, but we don't have to have it. He wants it. Musk wants it. These people want it. They don't need it, and they don't have to have it, right? No one needs it, and no one has to have it. And the speed at which they want it, like Rishi Sunak desperately, and Neil Mohan and Google desperately want it because that's what they like, that's what they're interested in. It's their pursuit, it's their interest, right? Their interest is this tech stuff. They like tech. They're interested in tech. You might be interested in painting. Now, all of the artists in the world, right? Some people are interested in painting art and pictures. When there were no cameras, people painted the picture and people had them in to decorate. It's art, but also art has meaning as well. It can explore the meaning of life or interpret, reflect on ideas, right? Now, art, right? As soon as you've got a camera, you don't need an artist because you can just take a picture and the machine can do it. But who looks at the picture? It's for a human to look at and a human to put on the wall, right? It's not for anyone else but another human, and it just saves another human time in painting the picture. But the majority of artists don't just paint so everyone can have a crystal clear photograph of this or that on the wall, right? They paint it because it's a pursuit, it's an activity. Now, once Elon has got the AI and everything like that can also do it with pictures and ideas and stuff, part of the idea process is having the idea. And I'll tell you another thing, right? Part of the human pleasure system, not only when you have an orgasm for sex or you have pleasure when you're playing tennis or some people like to go skydiving, there's part of the human reward system in the body. When you have a eureka moment or you think of a great idea, it actually gives you pleasure. So when you're thinking and coming up with these ideas as a human, you get a reward for it. You get pleasure. Oh, I've just had a great idea. That's brilliant. And you feel happy and you want to tell people about it, or you want to try make it or do it, right? That's being human. Now, the thing with Elon is he wants to he's dismantling human beings. It's got no value to him. Firstly, right, someone painting a picture, if someone paints a picture of Prince Charles, right, it's instantly £100,000 or even £500,000, right? Okay, to these rare off artists who are well sought out, there is profit in it. But to the average artist, people aren't going to give them money, particularly in this current financial climate, to draw a picture when they can just use their smartphone, right? It's making human skills redundant, but not only is human skills rewards. What you're left with when you've got this fully automated reality that Musk says that we want or need or have got to have because he wants it, it's his pursuit, and no one's in a rush to get anywhere. All of the governments in the world are telling us to slow down. Slow down. It's too dangerous. You might hurt someone. But as soon as they've invented a machine that can go faster, then they'll let you go as fast as you want. Well, you can't drive fast on the motorway because you're not competent enough. But if you go on the super hyper mega train, which is super hyper safe, we can make you go 100 million times faster because it's 100 million times safer. So with that, you can go faster on that, right? But then you don't even see where you're travelling between and learn or know anything about the places that you're going through to get somewhere, which was the whole point in following stars and mapping and tracking the country. But apparently, Google have done that now, so you don't need to know anything. What you're left with, right, is humans will only be here for fully recreational purposes soon. And that's for tennis, sports and so forth. And we won't be allowed to vote or have a say in what these big tech giants are doing if they own everything, because it's theirs, not ours. They own it. They have the say. And once they get to the point where we're only here to play tennis all day or whatever, and even humans aren't thinking of ideas for pictures or drawings or even debating the politics or anything, because they've got all AI to work it out supposedly better than us, I don't think they'll have any value to us at all, because we're just not needed. Your own pleasure, your own leisure, your own squash game is not going to be of any value to them, even if we manage to protect ourselves in a pleasure dome. And this has been explored in many, many movies, including Doctor Who and things like that. It always ends up quite sinister. If you end up with a pleasure dome with the majority of humans only there, for even for sex and tennis, on table tennis or squash or water polo, let's have a Conservative Party, a Tory Party future, right? Let's say that it's water polo and these Ibiza parties in foam parties, and it's some kind of pleasure dome where it's just sex or so forth, and they've got a control on the population. It becomes the least of important things to all this super going out into space and taking over the universe. It becomes almost kind of like how they're regarding our ancient sites and monuments now. Even the archaeologists are stripping down our monuments, to learn about them, and then there's nothing left, rather than just leaving them. Respect, honour, the pleasure dome will become nothing but a monument, a time capsule. It will become nothing but a time capsule, maybe like on Star Trek The Next Generation, when there's that big whale thing floating in space and they have to get the whale song back, get the human spirit back. The machine, it never had the spirit of the human in it. Everything you do that is positive or worth doing, you're going to get leisure or pleasure from. And the things that aren't nice and you don't like, you're not meant to like them. They're meant to be bad. Now, this is the thing with Priti Patel. Priti Patel doesn't want to have to face protesters and put up with their complaints and have people swearing and showing dissatisfaction and even swearing or articulating themselves in how they feel or what they think in their own. It's very precious to have individual humans and creatures who are capable of freedom of thought and being born different or having a different upbringing, for all these different perspectives, all these different rungs on the social ladder, all this rich and poor voices and perspectives of all a different view on how the current model has what it's made them into and the repercussions of that and so forth, which is extremely valuable. I don't stop Priti Patel from saying what she thinks, right? And I don't expect her to stop me from saying what I think, in my opinion, no matter how much she doesn't like it. Our neighbours now are just doing certain things which don't seem to fit what the area and so forth. There are things in law which you can't just come to an area and totally transform it when there's certain people got a status quo there. But I can't really stop them from doing it. But I've got a right to express my opinion, and then they do what they want. But if someone's doing something that's upsetting you or distressing you, you can voice your opinion, but to what extent you're doing it, usually it's not to that much of a dramatic extent. It's usually something which is avoidable once you talk about it and discuss it or whatever. And a lot of these problems are because people are cheating the rules or the regulations, or people are just coming in with a load of money and just taking over the place when there are other places that won't be detrimental to other people. Elon Musk is not the best person to consult about anything. He's just he bought Twitter. It was something, I want this, I want this, I want this. He paid an insane amount of money for it. He's been tweaking and twiddling it with all his X stuff. I can't even message anyone hardly on there anymore. And if there's no point messaging people on there, what's the point in going on there? I'm not really interested in what all these celebrities are tweeting, one-line sentences. He's quite retarded, really. You can't really put full intellectual communications and conversations on there. It's hyper-restricted down to one line or sentence. And apparently Elon Musk's lost even more money on it now, so I don't think that he's the best person to take advice from. Anyway, in business, he got all this massive amount of money, but he doesn't seem to. He's got these contracts, but he seems like a wild card, really, a completely and totally wild card. His logic doesn't add up. Firstly, he's just given misinformation and completely lied and given a false facade of a very important, serious thing. And I've actually been sticking up for him on the free speech, and I've been having a go at these European guys, these World Economic Forum guys and these NATO people, all these European Union people who've been wanting to shut down free speech on platforms. But when Elon Musk says that, he's making out that, it's too late now, we're already cyborgs, we're going to have to be cyborgs, and we're pretty much are already, just because we've got a smartphone, which anyone can chuck in the bin and doesn't need. The smartphone actually is addictive. It's actually spoiling family relationships and spoiling... I actually think, in relation to crime, they banned all the smacking of kids and all the grabbing of ears and smacking hands and stuff in schools and all this, They claimed that there was all these weird stuff going on like Savile and no one's to be trusted. Yet there was family responsibility, authority. Maybe little posh schoolboys like Tony Blair and David Cameron don't agree with this discipline from elders. But what's actually happened now, they've got rid of the discipline and only the police are allowed to come down and sort people out, is you've got the crime's gone through the roof even more, and even more crime and even more problems, because there's no one dare having a discipline, but no one even dare have any care for children anymore. I don't know where all this pedo thing came from. Maybe there's a slight natural tendency to it. Maybe it's something in nature that's just a flavour that we're not too keen on. But the news definitely blew it out of proportion and focused on it and used it for propaganda and scaremongering and exploded it, really. And I think that the internet, particularly the Americans, have been throwing up a lot of stuff on there to provoke people. I'm not saying it didn't exist. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but what are the benefits of? And then now they're blaming the parents. Now they're blaming the parents for, the parents are responsible to look after the kids. We need it in schools. We need it in the government needs to educate the kids. AI tablets need to educate the kids because they've pretty much banned all the family and home discipline. I'm not saying that it was ever a good thing, but it's natural. It's in nature. But what we're trying to make out is that certain things in nature, we should eradicate all these things. The thing is, right, we aren't still swinging from vines like Tarzan, and we're not chimpanzees. And I think that, way before even the windmill, way before the windmill, right, we had these family and community discipline orders, and it got us to pretty much near enough where we are now without it needing to be banned. And that's definitely nature. All this wokeness is nonsense. Elon Musk is giving them unfortunately, I don't like taking sides, but this currently, Elon Musk, he's coming out of absolute tosh. It's complete lies. He's giving misinformation. That would, I was defending Elon Musk the other day for free speech against this World Economic Forum wokeness. Now, Elon Musk, if they want to have this, misinformation bans, Elon Musk, the owner of X, that's got to ban him. You can't. He's claiming the truth is that a human needs a mobile phone to live, or is already Android. It isn't. Not even a speck of his fingernail is Android. It's absolute, complete and total tosh. It's a lie. It's a pure lie. And to be honest, I've just been watching a video from one of these guys who used to work from Google as CEO. In fact, I might as well do that video as part of this one. So this video here, this actually was on my other phone, but I wanted to do a talk on it, and I think it fits in with this one that I'm doing now. This guy here.
When they are delivered at scale.
So this guy used to work for Google, and he's had his mushkin in all kind of government pots, different government departments and military defence, and they're talking about 3D printing simple drones that can drop a bomb and take out multi-million-pound tanks and all kinds of stuff. This guy is claiming that he's fallen out with Google now because of what they're wanting to do, but he's making all these claims and he's making all these statements, right? And what he's effectively saying, to sum it up, I'll try and get it as accurate as I can explain, but he's talking about all these mega complicated AI programs and strings and prompts you can have on your phone and things that you can give commands to and pop up and give information and so forth. Basically, what devices will be capable of, to sum it up. And he's saying that, you can get a machine to analyze all of the current pop music and come out with a song that's not exactly the same but similar than them, and release it into the charts in 5 seconds or whatever, and fill in all the forms that you need to do and compete with them, and people will like it. But also in business and trading and all these things, or even come up with a platform that's similar to Google itself and all these things. And he's claiming that you can have a personal kind of like servant robot or Android machine that can just do every command you give it, and it can work everything out. And he's claiming that the language is getting better. This is one thing that I wanted to point out, right? These people, including this guy and Elon Musk, there's something wrong with them, right? They are a sandwich short of a picnic, in the sense that even now as we speak, even as we're talking now, this is the important part. YouTube are breaking the law. At the moment, YouTube are criminal. They're breaking the law. In England, they're breaking the Public Meeting Act. Nothing's been done about it. So no matter how much tech they've got, no matter how much US immunity they've got, which isn't much when it's not copyright, they're actually criminal at the moment. They're breaking the law in England, and nothing's been done about it, right? And there's all these big businesses and companies, all these massive companies and businesses, globally huge ones, that have all got policies that are illegal. They're actually criminal. No one can afford to take them to court. Like, we can terminate your account for any reason or no reason at all. Can't have that. Can't have that law in England. It's illegal, right? So it's dysfunctional already because they don't want to do it. There's this human element to it, whereas they don't want to comply and they're just ignoring you, and they've got the privilege of having a big company overseas in a foreign thing, and our government's doing nothing about it. Ofcom's doing nothing about it. Advertising Standards Agency's doing nothing about it. And you're just there. And now many people have got channels, and they're doing protests and they're doing actions, and the government are trying to stop them doing these actions, because we've got these people like Bill Gates, Elon Musk and other people who they're umming and ahhing at the moment, whether they want to help us and have us rights, or whether they want to take over us and censor us all, when they're lucky that we even use their products and we even agree to their policies: consent, submit, accept, yield, kneel, bow, whatever. No one. What happens tomorrow if everyone says, I don't consent to any of these policies or at all, and turns their device off and puts it down? then these people will be bankrupt in a month or less. They're only where they are and doing what they're doing because we consented, accepted, submitted, and agreed to let them do it. All their money, they've only got it because we bought their things. Now, the thing with humans is, and I know this is a really obvious thing, humans need shoes, right? So people are making shoes, so we wear them. But if people started making shoes that didn't fit, or only fit a toddler, or started to shape your foot into some kind of, you can grow square tomatoes, right, or whatever, people won't buy them. Now, the thing is, really, what these devices are doing and these rules that we're submitting to, consenting to, accepting to, it's very similar to growing square tomatoes, but not very clearly obvious, not in the physical body. He's not putting a glove on you that's got, a Mickey Mouse glove with three fingers, like on Predator, or whatever it is, on Total Recall. On Total Recall, when he puts his hand into that thing to set off all the evaporating all the water or whatever, there's that alien hand thing with, he has to do kind of like a Vulcan kind of thing, sort of semi-Vulcan thing, and put it onto the thingamajig. Not like that, but in the plasticity of the mind, which, can always take on different languages. If you're born in, if a white person's born in China and they've never been to England, they will sound like a Chinese person. But if they've got a twin, in England, they both look identical, but their mannerisms and how they speak are different. They've been altered in a way, but biologically, by other humans and people. I think what Elon's trying to make out is that when Elon says that, we've got a mobile phone, so we're part Android anyway, what he actually means is that rather than other humans and communities helping mould us as humans, they can do it through the machines now. And because the device can do it, then, it's almost like having a parent instead of a human parent, a machine parent. Even if your parent was a mobile smartphone, even if you were born in a space station or, on the moon or on Mars or whatever, even if you were born 20,000 leagues under the sea or, in Antarctica and you'd never seen another human, there is absolutely no way on the face of this planet that Elon Musk can legally claim it is a true statement that any human being on this planet who doesn't have a natural disability, an obvious one, or a pacemaker or something, needs any device or is an android and not a human, right? Now, even if you're schooled and brought up by a mobile smartphone, it might not be the best parent, and I don't think that it should be the best parent, but that human still is not an android, right? Unless the phone has kind of taught it some weird data language and that's just its normal language. I mean, you could have that. That would be a strange human. If an android had parented a baby and it had taught it like whistles and clicks, like whip, 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 you could have that. When we encountered Native American Indians, they got some peculiar movements like bird movements or, and when they do the hunting ceremonies and processions and they got these strange neck movements, we don't see that anymore. It's not a can-can dance where everyone's doing the exact dance. They've all got their own animal spirit or their own, they're copying for hunting purposes, mimicking the animals to help them move through the forest and hunt and stuff like that. Elon Musk could get a human child and bring it up to talking clicks and whistles, move like a robot even. It could be the style and fashion of that human. Elon Musk could potentially have an experimental people on an island somewhere, and in 40 years, when they've all grown up to 40-year-old, all the babies, if they've been schooled by his drone They could be drone mobile phones teaching them. They could all be, there used to be robo dancers, like Chemical Brothers or something, or whatever it's called. Max Headroom or something. They could actually. It could be the style and fashion. Where you actually move like a robot because it's cool. It's just like how you do it. This is the thing with Maloney. Giorgio Maloney in Grazie. All these Italians. They've got their own little. There's an Italian thing. They all do it when they're speaking. Grazie. You got to do the head movement. You got to put your head to the side. You got to curl your lips and grazie. And then you got to put your hand up. You got to shake your hand from left to right. You got to tilt your hand. You got to put your hand up, and then you got to put your hand in front of you, not high like Hitler, just straight forward. And then you got to tilt it left and right, and you got to go maybe not. Yes, grazie. Like this. It's a thing, right? Elon's claiming that humans might as well be androids because they've already become androids, which is absolute complete tosh. It's just bollock, right? I don't think that any government has the right to. We've got schools, but schools are made up of humans, a variety of humans who are teaching you in different classes. Men, women, Africans, Chinese, different cultures of teachers, different subjects. It's not a robot, which is like, everyone's going to come out of school, like some sort of Elon Musk clone or something. It's not intelligence. What it is this. There are lots of pursuits in human beings, right? Astronomy, nature, biology, animals, Sir David Attenborough, going around the planet, looking at different animals and culture and stuff like that. The variety is the spice of life. There is so many interests, and I don't think that Elon Musk and his these Harvard people, right, value now their subject, their interest. They think that their field of study is the most important thing there's ever going to be in the existence of mankind, and that's just simply not true. They think that look at cars. We were riding around. Everyone was riding around on horses, and they celebrated the horse. They even named star constellations after a horse, and then they even made the horse pattern like Uffington in the hillside. It was celebrated, and they merged a bit of natural history in with it. Like things evolved from reptiles and snakes, and then they evolve arms and legs, and there's a theme behind it. Coming from the origins. It's all education ties into everything, but the thing is that now hardly anyone has horses. Just people ride horses for fun, for pleasure. Women mainly, or even the people who are still hunting. Fox hunters like Andrea leads some crew with their fox hunting, right? And the thing is, it's not the only subject or the most important subject for mankind at all. And they're claiming that it's going to solve all the problems, it's going to solve all the social order, it's going to solve everything. But, they said that with Windows 98 when everyone went on dating sites, and it didn't solve everyone's problems. And now even with social media and all these Facebook groups, you can learn a lot. People are still learning. And now that people have found out about their own countries through Facebook groups, all these ancient sites that people never knew about, and now there's photographs of all the ones hidden in the nooks and crannies. People are very interested in their history, their heritage, where they came from, how we got here, all those things. Now when people are wanting to put the pedal to the metal and, build on everywhere, and we've only just, all this information was to the, only to the university students who were studying that field of study, archaeologists, anthropologists, Tolkien, people in Oxford University circles, or people who were book boffins, and now it's the information that everyone's learning about is coming out, and everyone's interested in it and likes it and want to study it. Is now when everything else is kind of about to go into overdrive. It's not fair. Most people actually. I think that it's about time that humans, were allowed to enjoy life and relationships and friendships without being poor or without, be themselves. And everyone learned to the community, the balance, the social order was evolved and learned. I don't like the idea of these devices suddenly coming and putting a new blanket social order over the whole planet, because it's not fair on all the different peoples from around the world who are a little bit out of sync, or even have got, finding out about themselves. And then there's all these arguments about, well, you'll have to get up to speed, and then, they suddenly, mix it all up, and then, or whatever. People should be interested in learning learning about the differences, as much as, how much we're the same. But, and even if that results in arguments, then, but I don't think people like Priti Patel want to learn about people dislikes and hates, rather than just, block and ban it. Surely there's something to learn from that. How there are people at universities studying, why people get angry or why people hate these certain things. And to be honest, when you actually get interested in the reasons, there's usually at least within the person, they've got a legitimate reason or a valid reason which means something to them. And that's the thing. I mean, it surely, it's got to be better than fox hunting. Surely a person standing up for themselves and what they represent, even if it's with an extraordinarily strong dislike to any other persons, there's got to be something in that is something more than a load of toffs on horses, sending a pack of 16 dogs after a fox. I mean, it's just there are worse things happening in the world than whatever you call this Scottish online hate speech or whatever. And the worst thing is people are telling people what they're thinking and feeling. But no, we don't want other people to know about it, or else it might spread the wrong ideas. Well, what's the Samaritans? You might as well ban everyone from ringing the Samaritans up, because it might be spreading ideas or whatever. I don't see Priti Patel and that Mr. Shiraz or whatever he's called in Scotland introducing more Samaritans, to help people out with their anger or hatred problems, to talk them through it, rather than giving them fines or slapping them in prison or sending the police around or confiscating their equipment. Why aren't they sending the Samaritans around to see them? That'd probably be more productive, when they get the Samaritans knocking on the door, saying, "Oh, you've been involved in hate crime," if they have a new law when you've got to sit down for 10 minutes with the Samaritans, that'd probably be more torture to them than having to go sit in a stupid police cell. What are you achieving with someone who's got hatred, right? What are you achieving in having the police come round, take them to the police station, take the shoes off, make them sit in a cell, with no but cracks on the walls, and then having a duty solicitor come in, telling them they've been charged with a crime, or whether you release them or not, and then having to go in front of a magistrate and getting 20 hours community service. What has been learned through that process? Sweet F.A. Nothing, right? If you send the Samaritans round, for half an hour, surely that's got to be more torture than, being unproductive. And, all the police time wasted, it's just some of these things that they're coming out with are just completely and totally pointless. And then the police are like, oh, are we going to allocate all the resources of the police? Well, when they can't even solve all the serious crimes because the crooks are that intelligent that they've even got people consent, submit, accept, yield, kneeled, every subversive requirement under the sun. Why do people submit and accept to it? Because we've got some goodies for you. We've got some videos that you can watch, some music to listen to, as long as you consent, submit and accept, or whatever. Tech is not the only point in human life. It can get you into the air in a helicopter, right? But does everyone need a helicopter now, tomorrow? Prince William had a helicopter. Does everyone in, Weston-super-Mare need their own private personal helicopter? Yes or no? And what are the logistics going to be for that, even if everyone could afford a helipad in their garden? It's not going to work, is it? Right? So no, everyone doesn't need a helicopter. And they don't need their own private helicopter, right? Tech is not the answer, but also neither is money. It's how it's managed and implemented and put to use so that as many people can be happy and content with the outcome and management as possible, and less complaints. And I think humans have got a very bad deal. The majority of humans have had a bad deal for the most part of history, having to work 6 days a week, 8 hours a day, while certain few have benefited from a lot of the things. And then there's all the bad habits and so forth, growing corn and making bread so the whole country ends up covered in wheat and barley fields, which is the last thing that, no one ever would go foraging. If you ended up, on some island by yourself and had to survive for a month by yourself, you ain't going to touch a barley or wheat field. It's of zero value to anyone looking for food, right? They're going to be looking for nuts and berries and snails and things like that, right? They are not going to go, oh, wow, look at this tasty wheat and barley field I've found. Once you peel all the prickly sharp bits off, I'm sure you can make something good out of it. You might as well you might as well have fields of sewerage and say, well, once we've processed it, it'll be just clean. It'll be like clean water. You might as well have the amount of processing that goes through a corn and barley field to get this bread out of it. You might as well have pure sewage and say, oh, well, we've filtered it and micro-filtered it and now we've got clean water after we've evaporated it all off and filtered the water out. Oh, look, it's clean water. You might as well evaporate seawater. You might as well filter seawater and say, oh, look, we don't need a reservoir anymore. We're just filtering seawater by the time you've put all that barley and corn through the process and come out with a loaf of bread. This is the intelligence that we're dealing with. I mean, look at that lake in Ireland that's all completely and totally... It's got too many nutrients in it from all the cow dung, and it's got all algae growing in it, and then it's got all these Russian mussels in there as well, and it's a mess. Or kind of a little bit like that Hudson River in America that they had to clean up, that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. had to clean up. The thing with tech is these people get a hell of a lot of money and funding and profits, and they're just kind of like prioritizing themselves. This guy here, this Google guy, this ex-Google guy in this video that I've paused it on, I noticed that through his entire Harvard interview, right? I think it was Harvard anyway. He didn't once seem to ask what anyone else wants, what other people want, what the majority of the planet want, what the public want. It was all, we're doing this, Google are doing that, this tech's coming in, we're going to make it, and this is the effects that it's going to be, and that's it. That is the most selfish and idiotic megalomania position ever. A lot of these tech people, yes, they're very clever. Yes, they're pushing the advancements in technology, but like I said, everyone doesn't need a helicopter, and at the end of the day, only certain people are going to have them. Everyone doesn't need a mobile phone. Horses now, suddenly, there are horses everywhere, and now there aren't, right? And that wasn't even tech, that was like, that's another creature. Then, we've got cars everywhere. Now they're saying, oh, we don't want everyone to have cars because there's too many cars, right? What's to say that, okay, when cameras were invented, everyone didn't have a camera and take pictures. What they did is they gave everyone cheap cameras. They gave everyone like really rubbish handheld cameras, and a lot of the photos that came back were blurred or not very good because people didn't really know how to use them. They weren't like SLR cameras, but everyone didn't have them. Now, every single one of these, this is meant to be a telephone where you ring someone up and speak to them. But we're not even speaking to people. I'm recording this. I'm spending all my night talking about important things, and probably no one will end up listening to it. So what's the point? I'm not even speaking to a person anymore. You're not even going to a labour club, to a working men's labour club, and you're not even sat speaking. Starmer's just banned smoking, which, I'm not going to, I don't really have, I don't have a political position on it really, other than knowledge, which is that I know that the Labour Party probably would never have existed if it hadn't have been for smoking and social clubs and groups of men at bowling clubs, at snooker clubs, drinking pints and smoking. I don't think the Labour Party would have existed as we know it, no matter who started it, because it required all the working class people to form groups and vote and socialise and so forth. It would have never existed. Maybe, prior to that, it was the Liberals, and so forth, kind of like before it, but it definitely played a role. Smoking did enable people to meet and not argue, and that's one thing, that's an important thing with smoking. If it hadn't have been for smoking, tempers wouldn't have been lowered, and then people wouldn't have been able to socialise and come together without the Oliver Cromwell cockfighting and the boisterous nature of man. It wouldn't have happened. That was a drug which was accepted into society and widely used, which the smoking played a huge role. What people don't realise in the entire the culture and the status quo, the overall consciousness of humans, particularly in England and America, and I actually think that maybe all this political uprising is not just down to the threat of the tech, but for one thing, I think that the tech is definitely having a social impact, extremely different to smoking, and you haven't got this smoking calming everyone down. People are getting annoyed, So they're having to kind of start claiming they're going to bring more rules and policing in. and so forth. But then again, that the fast food and junk food, you see, before smoking, before the smoking came in, you know, after the 16, well, you know, they didn't start growing it straight away when in the 1640s. It was after, you know, once they established it, and before then, you know, you've got all these fighting and wars and stuff, and I actually think that now with all this tech and phones, it's very, very antisocial in a way. There's a lot of people who aren't actually talking to or meeting other humans. We've gone very, very, very antisocial, even though there's more and more people. They're less social. People don't sing and dance anymore or socialise. You know? And no one wants to tolerate anything. Mark Zuckerberg and these social media platforms definitely they've gone too quick in what they're doing and not really understood the consequences of it, and their self-importance is so out of context that I just, who the fuck do they think they are, firstly? I mean, who does Elon Musk think he is? And who does Mark Zuckerberg think he is? I mean, and then you've got these senators in America. A lot of the video footage of the Senate, it actually makes these senators seem quite insignificant now. And I start to wonder, you know, what hacking's been going on with the court cases and so forth, and things like that, particularly when it comes to Google. You know, you know, Harvard and Oxford, and just because these people are making advancements for mankind, like with the helicopter, you know, we all don't need one. And, you know, it's good for emergencies and things like that. You know, people are stuck in the Lake District on a mountain with a broken leg. But, you know, only the extremely privileged get to fly around in helicopters for the personal transport, like Prince William or whatever. And I think with Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, yes, they did come from these modest kind of upbringings, but they very quickly, I think they've very, very quickly been spoiled, basically, and lost sight of, you know, they claim they're making these things for other people. Put it this way, what, you know, are they providing things for the benefit of mankind, everyone? Is that the deal at the moment? You know, these people, they're like making shoes that we need, or they're making clothes that we still need, or they're providing food that we still need. They're providing a service, this tech, supposedly, it's communications. Tech is communications, right? And a little bit of entertainment, right? You know, they're providing it for us, for the benefit of us, right? But when they're talking, when these people now are speaking, they're like, oh, we're bringing this out, we're bringing that out, we're going to do this, and then, you know, we're going to be able to do this or that, and an AI thing can do all this or that. It can put on the stock market and make you millions. Have they said, no, most people don't want to go on the stock market and make millions. Most people don't want to create a search engine in 10 seconds which can outcompete and get a pop song to beat all other pop songs and be number one in the charts. What happened to, you know, just making music or looking through random music or just, you know, making your own music or being in a group of people, you know, in some village or town or even in the city, you know, listening to live music. Every single thing this Google guys come out with is to win or beat. And that's the thing with Google staff. They've got this competitive programming where they've got to win, beat, outcompete or whatever. Maybe people don't want to beat other people in life at everything or be number one in the charts or have the best search engine. Maybe people just want to not. Yes, it would be good, firstly, to not have to work all day, 7 days a week, and then it would be good to not be poor, and then it would be good to have friends who you really do get on with and don't want to steal all your things, and who don't actually really hate you. They actually do like you, and then okay. Now we've made some progress. We've got some free time. We're not poor. We're not in poverty. And we've got some good friends. Now we can live life. But apparently, according to Jeremy Corbyn, the majority of people in Islington are not even at that point. And meanwhile, this gimp is like, let's get sort of the important things in life sorted out now. All these mega supercomputers where I can outcompete every other search engine, and print off fucking military drones which can take out £10 billion tanks. Maybe tanks were never a good idea ever. Maybe the gun, the peacemaker, was never a good idea, ever. Maybe the camera was a bad idea. Now you're not just having a camera. Oh, I've got a camera phone. I can take a picture of my coffee. Well, it'd be a start if you drunk the fucking thing, wouldn't it? Oh, well, look at. Oh, I've got this fancy camera now. I can take pictures of my coffee all day. Why did you fucking drink it? You dumb. Have you tried fucking drinking it? This is the thing. Now we've got to have the cameras. And this is the thing, the government are like, oh, now we've got cameras and now we've got them in their phones. We've got to have these cameras and we've got to have them everywhere. We've got to see absolutely everything that everyone's doing. Because obviously, I'm that intelligent that I can see that, or the computer can watch everyone. I'm looking at some acts of law at the moment, particularly for the broadcasting legislation. And I'm looking at certain words like abet, counsel, procure, and I'm like, I know what these words mean. Let me have a think about it. What does that word mean? And then you get the thesaurus out or the dictionary, and like, yes, I think about this word. What does this word mean? What is the extent of this word? What are the implications of that? And it extrapolates this entire intelligence of meaning and apply it to situational models in life. And then you've got the meaning of this law, and what you find is that you've got these celebrities or these GB News or even half the ministers in Parliament who are doing things which is completely against this law and act, because they are out of it. They're just in their own dream world. They're just going along with that. They've jumped in a river and they're going along with the ride, and everyone started doing this thing, but it's flooded everywhere, and it's flooded everywhere that it's not in law. You're not meant to, because someone dug it out when it still was illegal. It's like the social media's dug out all these channels for politics, and now it's flooded everywhere when they actually look at the law and said, oh, that's illegal, right? Well, tough, the social media platforms dug it out, now fuck it, I mean, a good example of that, not in social media, but in physical reality, not ideologically in the law, but look at the Fens. I mean, eels were a very, very important food, and all these eels came from the Atlantic, from this place in the Atlantic, the Sacramento Sea or whatever it's called, Saragama Sea or wherever it's called, if I can pronounce it properly. And all these eels flowed on these channels, and then they swam along the coast, and then they went up the rivers, and then this is where they lived. And they all populated, the coast of France, Spain, Britain, and these eels were a very, very good source of food, because remember that, oily fish is good for you, like salmon. And if they're on the river, fresh water, if they live on these rivers and estuaries, then it's going to have a lot less mercury, in it, because obviously it's more fresher water and so forth. But, certain human beings suddenly decided, look, we've got all these areas, these fens in England and all this mass area of land, which is, part fen and very wet. And what we're going to do is we're going to drain it off, and we're going to patent these new ideas, and we're going to recover land. We're going to recover massive amounts of land, like, on East England, East Anglia, Norfolk or whatever, Suffolk, and we're going to reclaim it, and then we're going to, farm it and plant crops, and we're going to have villages and towns, and they made a patent out of this. It was a big thing. In fact, there's a lot of the petitioning history of England is around that thing. There was a lot of petitioning going on with Parliament around that as well. And what they've done is they've completely and totally transformed the landscape of England, and then we've ended up getting this massive crop culture and sugar beets, Bury St Edmunds sugar beet factories and all this barley and wheat and bread, and it's actually completely and totally changed the way of life. I think there's, I'm not saying we should or should not be eating animals or not. That's a different argument. But, for example, you've got George Monbiot. He is complaining about all these salmon that are being farmed in these nets, and it's very unhealthy and unethical, and they're all rotting, and they're not actually living in their normal natural environment of how we have salmon, because they're mass producing them in these big contained areas, and so forth. Well, the eels actually used to live in the natural areas, and now apparently that those eels are now starting to become extinct, and they didn't know why. Well, all of the places they used to go to and thrive in their environment has been taken away, so obviously their populations are going to lower, and their cycles and so forth. That's just one example. And then, we had a lot of forests and foraging and mushrooms, although, I know that there are lots of poisonous mushrooms, but mushrooms are really good for you when you eat the right ones, and lots of different flavours and tastes and varieties that can be made, make it interesting, like Forester Dean foraging and things like that. It completely and totally changed the landscape of the country, and it's just because someone does something and it catches on, and then people just do it, and they're not really looking where they're going properly. And then, this is the thing with the junk food. The junk food is just one invention that everyone started doing, and now we're starting to realise that, okay, that was a bad idea. The drive-thrus and the packaged food, it is not really that good. People are moving less, and now they're thinking, we'll have to have cycle lanes, and now we'll have to force people to ride bikes into work, and or give them talking buses to drive them insane, so they don't even get on the bus, so they'll drive a walk into work. They're trying to now design the country, force us into more exercise, when it's their fault for making all the junk food lazy culture. You've got to move. This is another thing with the whole Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg thing. We need to move. Things with humans is this, right? If you're going to be human and if you're going to eat, you need to exercise and move. If not for pleasure and leisure to keep fit. They know that. That's obvious. The difference between machines and a man is this. If you're an android, you don't actually have to move. You could just go into the corner like a dunce and be switched off. Like some kind of servant robot, you don't need to move. The thing with Elon Musk is, if he has an army of androids, he doesn't need to exercise them, In fact, they could all be switched off, Johnny Five is alive. They could all be, in the storage, they could all be folded up in the storage container, getting updated by the programming, download. So you don't actually need to exercise them like soldiers to retrain them. You just have one of them, and then they all get updated and retrained, and then they all just come out of the fucking container thing and then just open up, and then, they're all updated with the latest software or whatever, or they can't change the hardware. So you don't even need to, these things don't even need to exercise, I think when, I can only imagine, but if you have what it's like to have staff. I know that human staff don't always do, what you would, like them to do, but that's being liberal, big business people don't like liberal. It's like Spectre. If you disobey, then press the button and Graham Norton will like flick you out of your chair. This is like the model for Spectre. If you don't do as you're commanded, they'll pull a chair on you. Or you get the electric chair or whatever, or whatever. It's definitely. I think these people want the world to go their way, and they've got. Surely, if you've got that much money, you've got to have absolutely everything that you could possibly ever want or dream of. That goes for all the movie producers as well. Like, Wacky Burton, Wacky Crazy Nutcase Tim Burton the other day came out with this thing with his new Beetlejuice film going, like, oh, I'm going to make you very happy, which basically means, no, I'm not going to make you very happy. I lied. I'm going to make you very sad and traumatic and, distressed. Some of these people are honest and they say, all these physical material things don't actually really, solve our problems, and so forth. This is the thing with Kennedy, because, there are honest people who I think, definitely, there are people who, are legitimate and have got a good, fair opinion of things in life. That's why I support Robert F. Kennedy Jr., because even though I'm completely against any all these massive excesses in all these things, it's still, there are still people who get it, who understand it, and who do care, like Jeremy Corbyn, for example, as well. But this other group seem to be, everyone has to make sacrifices for them and their tech, which we're having whether we like it or not. It's going to happen because they're going to do it, and tough. This is basically like consent, accept, submit, yield, kneel. And then, and like they're going to outcompete us, the machines are going to outmaneuver us. They're talking like a military. And I was having a go, at Charles because he was banging on about military-style campaign. But when you start getting to these Harvard people, it's all their lingo and talk is literally like, effectively, all their device. Oh, we're gonna. I can make this program. It's going to do this, and then it's going to outcompete the charts, and it's going to have the best song, or it's going to have the better search engine, or this and that. Everything they say and do has to be the best. It's like there's no point doing it if it's not going to be the best and if it's not going to win. It's almost like Strictly Come Dancing. If you aren't going to be on, Jules Holland's Hootenanny, what's the fucking point in having a Happy New Year? Okay, there are some people who don't have friends or who can't go out or who don't have a community or whatever, so they have to, they switch on. Apparently, Jules Holland's doing his Hootenanny, not for the celebrities who have the grace and privilege of being present at the Hootenanny. It's for all those sad and lonely people at home who can't go out or get anywhere. It's for them. It's for them to celebrate the new year. Lucky them. This is the thing. But why? Why? And this is why I don't like, the Zoe Ball mentality, because, if there's any party worth being at, then it's their party and every fucking body's got to be watching it, because if this is why it wouldn't be the best party on the planet if every cunt on the fucking planet wasn't tuned in watching it, would it, Zoe? If every cunt in the fucking country wasn't watching it, Zoe, what would be the point in having the party, Zoe, if every cunt in the country wasn't fucking watching it? How about, wow, everyone's having a party and everyone's having fun and they're all different and we don't have to see every single one of them with, have a multiple mega screen of cameras which form a giant picture of Elon Musk's face. Happy New Year! Here's the countdown. 1, 2, 3. We'll make a big picture of Jules Holland's face out of tiny little pictures of everyone else having their own little Happy New Year party. Look at this, now that ain't that hootenanny. This is the thing, maybe yours isn't the best, New Year's party on the planet. Maybe it's not the best birthday party on the planet, but if you actually have got a family and you are with people and you're doing it and you're not in poverty, then surely, having a party's got to be better than not having a party at Christmas or whatever. There's something with these people now. And it's the same thing with like Supertansky and all of these other channels now. They're all getting into this kind of like, oh, I've got fans, like I'll scroll down, we're not worthy. I was speaking to someone the other day, like Black Belt Barrister, someone in the chat underneath in the comments, and he's like, ooh, it's Black Belt Barrister. He won't reply to you. You're not worthy of him talking to you. No, we are but the fans. He speaks and we but listen. This is the thing. At the moment we're in some kind of like hot air balloon head inflation project where we've seen, it's almost like being in a hot air balloon kind of party where everyone's got weird hot air balloons, but they're not really going anywhere fast. They're not making any. They're going up. Oh, look at all these fancy hot air balloons in the sky. All these political rights action groups, but they don't understand the law of political rights. They're not even getting it right. They're getting arrested. But who cares? Roger Hallam's got 200,000 worshippers. Yeah, but he's in prison. It doesn't matter. And this is the thing about numbers. This whole Mark Zuckerberg, Musk thing, it's all like numbers. This person's got 1,500 followers. This person's got 1 million followers. Who gives a flying fuck? This is China. This is like points. It's points with a digital ID card, and Musk is like effectively, it's digital identity. We haven't become Android at all, but what they've done is they've got a lot of our identity of what type of human we are and what we like and what we don't like and our habits and who we are, data, and all our personal data now is on this flat screen phone, and this is the identity that is digital, and this is the thing that they've got. They've almost got like a credit card. Instead of money value, they've got our identity of this person. So now they're able to individually assess us all. And that assessment is for financial capacity, strengths, weaknesses, all these other things, which who would want that? Who wants a digital card on every single other person, and what would you do with such thing? Taking into account, if your primary objective in life is not to have an O2 arena full of people worshipping the fuck out of you, when they can't even fucking get close enough to speak to you or see you, and you're never going to have enough time to reply to them all individually, what do they want all this information and data for? To make our lives better? These Google people, all they're talking about is, designing something which can, take out military tanks and, get you assess everything and become, have the best at this and that and search engine and this and that. It all seems, much ado about nothing. It's almost like a game of hand slaps. I don't think that it is benefiting mankind. Helicopters are not really benefiting mankind. They're good in an emergency or for privileged people who need to get somewhere extremely fast. Good for them, right? Or good for someone. Either you have to be the highest of society, right? Like Prince William, or you have to be someone who's unfortunately, injured, broke your leg, while walking in the Lake District. You ain't going to get a fucking helicopter ambulance if you live in, a council estate in the fucking Wirral, that's for sure, unless you're out at sea on the Wirral. You either got to be the best, you got to be, high up or low down. The helicopters don't really benefit that much of mankind. They benefit the extremely privileged or the unfortunate people who have had an accident, right? And everyone doesn't need one, and everyone is probably not going to have one. Even if they make them small like a drone, how are you going to manage that traffic? How are you going to manage the traffic of everyone having, an Action Man drone helicopter that can lift them straight up into the air? Where's the fucking police chief going to put his speed cameras then? The camera's going to be actually on the drone itself, and he's going to, if you drive your drone bad, they'll, probably, your punishment's just going to be that it cuts out in the middle of the air, instant death, death penalty, the new police chief punishment for, dangerous drone flying is that, you power off, just plummet, and where you land, it'll just probably charge you, your next of kin, if it lands on some, someone's house, then they'll probably charge you for it, probably give some job to the builder to do. These tech people are just, their self-importance is astronomically. I think that their self-importance and their pursuits are probably outdone Charles now at the Royals. I would have thought their own self-importance and their own projects, their interests. Oh, it's for mankind. It's for mankind. We're doing it for mankind. Facebook is Shanghai, it captures you. Yes, it's entertaining, but it's almost like being stuck at work. It's like you're at work, you're packing widgets, and you're not going at walking in the Lake District and having the privilege of getting a helicopter to come get you when you broke your leg. Facebook is actually Shanghai. Maybe some people have got places with Facebook and done things for it, but I don't think so. There's a lot of people on there putting and making comments, and they seem annoyed with their situations and what's happening. The majority of people in Facebook groups seem to be the ones who aren't actually out there taking photographs of places that they're going to and been to. The rest of the people who are just, in the comments. I don't think that Facebook, the only thing that Facebook replaces, really, I think, is school. Because I've learned more from Facebook groups than school. But yet, you don't, they're not even, they haven't even shut the schools down yet. And they're wanting to try and isolate people at schools, apparently, he fenced them all in, it's dangerous and so forth. They could easily, but what happens if people, even if you were getting educated from online activities in groups, then you're going to stop children interacting with each other and having proper healthy relationships, which is the whole point of going to school. Even if some people don't get on with other students, maybe that you got to learn to deal with different situations in life. That's one thing that Priti Patel's wanting to get rid of. Get rid of all the people that you don't get on with, or if they're not behaving how you want them to behave. It's learning to understand and deal with different people, not just like walk around with some wand and make them vanish or disappear, which is what I think Priti Patel's plan was. Rather than cast the wand on her own head and suddenly she can understand other people's behaviours, and have insight and so forth, rather than just having them processed by the police and CPS, which is, about as educational as, dunking your head in a sink of water, cold water. You might as well be waterboarding them. It's just pointless. It's futile. It doesn't teach anyone anything, and it gets them to behave a certain way merely by the threat of the law. It doesn't encourage them to learn. All these civilizations have got these different social orders because they had to deal with and assimilate problems, not just block and ban them. And if people didn't like it that much, then they'd go away, or go somewhere else. Maybe if Priti Patel doesn't like all these protests, maybe she should go to somewhere they don't have protests, like Fiji or somewhere like that. Maybe she should be the governor of Fiji or something. Not an MP in Parliament of England where there's hordes of protesters outside, and everyone's got an opinion or view.